Welcome back to the category mistake, living with anxiety. Today's day 15, but I only have, this is 14th video. If you watched last one, it was like a 2-for-1 special. So, how was your weekend, everybody? Mine was kind of hectic, crazy. So, I'm a landlord. I've said this before, sometime probably. And I had a tenant move out, and I had tenants moving around and doing things, and floors being cleaned, and appliances showing up and not showing up. And it was a crazy lunatic weekend. And it rained, of course, on Saturday, because that's what it does on Saturday here in Maine and most of New England, I think. But the positives, here's some positives. So we got the tenant moved out, we got the appliances in. It was kind of crazy, but it all worked out. Friday, the delivery people for the refrigerator decided they didn't want to deliver it. They showed up. I went to go move some stuff to make space for the fridge, and they drove away with the refrigerator. I called for like 4 hours. Finally, found them. Anyway, fridge got delivered yesterday on a Sunday instead of on a Friday. It's great. Um, Last week at this time, I did a my podcast. I talked about church, talked about the anxiety church brought me, stressing church brought me, dogs barking, the anxiety that brings me. If you hear it in the background, you might. Um, Yesterday I went to church, much different than the week before. Now, I went to church. Before I went to church, I decided to change my mindset. So I decided I'm not going to let this come in the way of me doing this. So I kind of went in there with a more positive outlook. Now, I'm a little sarcastic. Okay, I'm a lot sarcastic, and because of that, I sometimes say things that I don't mean to be hurtful, but they come across hurtful. So of course, when those happen, people sometimes hurt their feelings. So I try to be less of that yesterday. Now, it's hard for me. Maybe hard for you too. Hard for me because sometimes I don't see that line and I jump way over it, and then afterwards I notice it. And I do that even with this podcast. Sometimes I say things and then I see it afterwards. I'm going, yeah, no. Anyway, yesterday, positive day. Um, and it was a positive day, not just because, church was good, not because I got things done around the house, not because the refrigerator was delivered. It was a positive day because at the end of the day, when I went to bed, I realized I'm not angry. I'm not upset. I'm not frustrated. I'm just tired. I don't get a lot of those days. I don't know about you all, but I don't get a lot of those days, and because of that, when I do get them, it almost blows my mind, um, and that's positive. Now, today had an appointment with the VA, Veteran Administration, great people. 7:30 appointment. I didn't know who I was going to see. They told me the doctor was going to go see, and all of a sudden, magically, that doctor doesn't work for the VA anymore. So I went in. I had no idea who I was going to see. Went in and I saw this new doctor. Now, this new doctor, never met her before. I used to see like a nurse practitioner, LCPC, which is what my wife is, kind of like a therapist, but not a doctor. Um, this one was a psychiatrist. Um, she looked definitely the part, and I don't know what that actually means, but I'm going to go with it anyway. Um, the point is, she went in and we were talking, and she's like, "Okay, so you had your neuro data evaluation last week, and um, here's the dealio." So I told her, I said, "Well, it's probably a little rude because I went in there, hey, I'm having this problem. How do I fix it?" And their answer was, "Just don't do it." Makes sense, right? Um, and she's like, "Okay, here's what we're gonna do. You have this. This is your problem. This is what all the testing says. This is what they're doing. It's wrong. It's not helping. It's just stupid. Don't do it. Here's what will work. Now, if this works, you'll know right away. If this doesn't work, you'll know right away." Um, so basically, she's putting me on medication that if it works, I will still have anxiety, but my everywhere mind that I have, the mind that just is like fireworks all over the place, that will be slowed down. Not gone, slowed down. Also, what will happen is certain substances like caffeine, I don't like it, but when I take caffeine, this if I take caffeine or too much caffeine with this medication, it's going to make me feel like crap. So it's going to deter me from doing things that are not exactly great for me, right? So again, it's a win. All I wanted was answers. Here's here's my frustration. Here's my stress. Here's my anger. Here's my whatever. First, I've been dealing with this for a long time, and it's taken all this time for me to get an answer ish. I'm hoping this is the answer. Second, she still kind of made me feel like the VA doesn't know what's going on, and there's a few doctors that do, and well, I'm lucky to have one that knows it. But the last thing is, every time I go into the VA, they always ask me the same questions, and maybe this is normal for doctors now. I haven't gone to a normal doctor in a long time. Um, are you sure you're not taking any substances? It's okay. Marijuana is not a, so it's okay. You can do that. Or you sure you don't drink? Are you sure you're not doing this? Are you sure? It's like, wait a minute, wait. I said I wasn't. Well, are you sure? And I don't know if that's a standard question, or if it's because of the way I act. And that's, I guess, a big issue I have is, why are they asking me that? And I can't just say, well, why do you keep asking me that? Um, I said this to the last doctor, and I said this to her today, and hopefully y'all understand. So they go up to you and they ask you the meds you're on, or they tell you the meds that they think you're on, and they don't use. So they'll go like bupropion or busparion or some Greek, okay, Latin and Greek, okay. Um, Wellbutrin, okay. People know what Wellbutrin is. There's commercials. God bless America. Um, and there's just people who talk about Wellbutrin. They don't talk about the physical, psychological, generic company name. They talk about Wellbutrin. Why can't they just say, hey, so it looks like you're still taking Wellbutrin? Yes, I am. And said, well, are you still taking bupropion? Um, what is that again? And maybe it's me. Maybe I should just be okay with them trying to sound smarter than they are. And that's something I brought up. And maybe you wanted to bring it up. Well, I'm the one who did. I literally said to the doctor, I said, listen, I don't know if it's God complex. I don't know if it's a doctor complex. I don't know if it's a whatever VA complex. Um, you want to sound smarter than me. And, it kind of gives you this holier than thou attitude feeling. Just because you can use big Greek Latin words doesn't mean you're smarter than me. Okay. Also, doesn't, if you want to use all these technical terms, I know what a lot of them are. And I Google. Google is a thing. Um, just talk to us like normal human beings. It's a crazy thought. And I said this to her today. And once I said that, first she kind of gave me that weird look, that look of, okay. But then she started talking to me like, I don't know, I was a human being. And she basically said, hey, you've got severe hyper anxious ADHD. Basically, your body is going crazy, and your brain's going crazy, and you need to be on medication, and you need to change some things to make it better. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. And well, it does. It does. It makes a lot more sense than what they had said earlier. So that's my annoying, my stress, my anxious factor for the day. Do you, I don't like it. Maybe you do. I don't like it when people talk down to me with words, because they and my appearance, mostly when I have a beard and I don't exactly dress super nice. When people talk to me like they think I'm an idiot, and they want to sound smarter than me, and a lot of times I'm not. I know exactly what they're saying, but sometimes I actually act dumb just to see what they do. And I tried not to do this with my students. I try not to do this with other people. I probably do. Um, I don't try to, but I probably do. I do. When someone starts talking to me that way, I kind of do it back to them too. Also, I start using words that maybe they don't know just out of spite. But I'm annoyed when you have doctors, you have teachers, people in the bank, people that you work with, people that you hang out with, people in a grocery store, people anywhere, and they try to use their technical terms that they don't think you understand to make them sound smarter. Um, and really, what they're doing is they're saying, "Hey, I'm better than you because you don't know all this stuff." That's how I feel. Now, some of them just do it instinctively because they're around it all the time. But I know a lot of people who use it just because they feel like it's great and it's fun and people don't know what they're talking about. Retail, they do it all the time. They use things like Z-Rack instead of the rack where all the clothes are hung. Or they use, you know, I don't know, they use fulfillment instead of grocery picking. Or all these terms they use that only a company uses. Instead of just, hey, I'm going on break. Or, hey, I'm doing this. Or anything like that. They just have to use some number, some code, some acronym. Why? I don't know. Because they do. You know. And sometimes as humans, me being a human, I feel like that is against everything we should believe and stand for. We want, I don't, this is the part that's confusing. Just, I promise it'll make no sense, but it will to me. We want everyone to be inclusive. We want diversity, equity, inclusion, right? But we use words like diversity, equity, inclusion. We don't use, hey, we want everyone to be treated the same or everyone to have equal chances at something. Instead we say diversity, equity, inclusion. Um, we never use the word equity growing up. Equity is a new word. Equality isn't, equity is. Diversity. To me, diversity is, hey, there's lots of people from lots of different places. Not skin color, not gender, just people from everywhere doing everything. America, land of diversity. You have Italians and French and Africans and Canadian French and British and Spanish and Russian and Uzbekistan, all these different countries. Asia in general, China, Japan, Korea, Vietnam, all coming together in one place, living together, not always agreeing, but living together. You have a Vietnamese market next to a Walmart. You know, America, not America. Okay, good food, not good food. Um, that's what to me is diversity. Inclusion is, hey, there's 12 kids to be picked for the kickball team. Everyone gets picked. Everyone takes a turn. Pick you, pick you, pick you. It's not, hey, this person doesn't want to play, but they still need to be included. Or this person can't play because they're in detention, but we still want them included. How about we just say everyone gets a fair shot? Um, that's a big one. That's a big one to me. It's the words we use. Uh, and if you know anything about me, I'm not a big fan of including people just so you can say you included them. I'm not a big fan of having diversity just so you can say you have diversity. Um, because the biggest companies in the world promote diversity, equity, and inclusion. Um, but if you look at the people who make all the decisions, the people who have the most money, um, they're pasty old white guys. It's just how it is. You know, um, oh, well, we want to change our demographic to have this many and this many of this and this many of this and this many of this. But our board of directors is all exactly the same. So is that really diversity? Not really. Um, Now, I also believe that if someone's going to get hired for the job, I don't care what they look like, who they sleep with, and what they do in their spare time. I don't care what their body parts are or what they were. I care, are they the best person for the job? Um, and maybe that's just me, but I don't care if a pilot is black, white, yellow, green, or red. If they're a woman, if they're a man, if they used to be a woman, but now they're a man, or they're a man and they used to be a woman, whatever. I don't care. Can you fly the plane and not crash it? That's my big thing there, you know? Um, in the military, I worked with a lot of everybody. You know, we had Puerto Ricans, we had Spanish, we had Americans, we worked with the Navy, we were Canadians, we worked with men and women. I didn't care that Lynch was a woman. I cared could she get the job done. I didn't care that Vo was a man. I cared could he get the job done. Um, that's what I cared about, you know. And I didn't care that Vo was from Lao, then and that Lynch was from New Hampshire. Again, don't care. Can they do the job and keep me alive and keep me safe? Because I'm selfish. I like being alive. I hope no one ever looked at me and said, well, he's an old pasty white guy, so I'm not sure if I trust him to keep me alive. I'm hoping that never happened. Maybe it did. Hopefully it didn't. Um, and that's the whole point. In the world I'm living in mentally, is I see so much of our time and energy and effort being put forth to make sure everyone is happy. We're either making right happy or left happy, instead of just trying to do the job that needs to be done. Okay. I don't care. I don't care if Trump is a horrible guy. He's not a great person always. I I care, is he doing what's best for the general population of the country? This whole, every president comes in, we have a mandate because we got elected. No, you don't. You don't have a mandate. You have a, people were tired of the other person or didn't trust the other person, and you were the better of the two options. Um, I don't think we've had a mandate probably since Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Reagan won because, let's be honest, Carter was just not popular. And Reagan won because Mondale just wasn't that good. And Bush the first one because, well, no one liked Dukakis and he was going on Reagan's coattails. Clinton won because he was young and sexy and people were tired of Bush because he'd been in politics forever. And so on and so on and so on and so on. It's a pendulum swing. There's no mandate. Okay? And that's another word. Mandate. I don't think half the people who say it actually know what it means. And those who know what it means aren't speaking up going, well, you're using that wrong. Just like the whole, equity, inclusion, diversity thing. I don't think people know what that really means. The DEI programs that we're using today, diversity, equity, is a lot of people connected to affirmative action. Affirmative action. Basically, hey, you need to give this much to these many people of this gender, race, or type to make it, fair. Okay. And I think in the 60s, 70s, even early 80s, that was a good idea. I don't think it's a good idea anymore, not because I'm anti whatever. It's because I'm pro. Let's just pick a college. I want Brown University to take in the best students possible with the best scores. I don't want a medical school or a school for lawyers or a school for doctors or other doctors or, I don't want them taking in students who are not as good as others because of they have to meet a quota. Okay. Not a big fan of quotas. I'm a big fan of who's the best. If you want the best, you go for the best. You don't say, well, and I don't always agree with these people, but Candace Owens said, you know, my children are mixed race, and when they go to college, I'm going to tell them to check black. Why? Because they'll have a better opportunity. That's just stupid. And it's true, but stupid. And I think that's a problem I have too. Is um, I don't care personally if what you are. I care, are you good at what you do? Okay. Colleges shouldn't care what someone looks like. They should care, okay, the character of the person, the grades of the person. Are they the best? Do they meet what we want? And that's just the simple fact. Now, affirmative action was needed for a very long time. Why? Because our country has a horrible history of taking care of people. Okay. First, the only people who could have any power were white, rich landowners. That's what they would call them today. White men who own land. Okay. They were the only ones who could vote. Then it turned into white men. Then it turned into white and some freed slaves. And then it turned into white men, some freed slaves, to most Americans if you were a man. Then it turned into men and women. But then it went back a little bit, and magically certain races, certain people, certain genders had to take tests to prove they could vote. I don't think any of us could pass those tests today because I've seen the elections. Most of us would have a struggle with it, I think. And affirmative action and those programs were set up to say, hey, listen, everyone should have a shot. You can't say no because of this. Great idea. I think if Target decided to not hire somebody and say, we're not hiring you because you're black, or we're not hiring you because you come from the wrong side of the tracks, social media would explode. Target would be shut down in a day. Okay? And I think that's the world we live in. There's too much public outcry over everything. Companies aren't willing to take that shot, but we still have it on the books that you have to. So now it's kind of like the NFL. They have this thing called the Rooney Rule. You have to interview so many minority coaches before you hire your coach. Why can't you just hire the best coach? Doesn't matter what they look like, but they still have the rule in place. It's funny. The New England Patriots last year hired a black coach, but they didn't follow the Rooney Rule because they were supposed to interview other minority coaches, but they hired a minority coach. Makes no sense to me. There shouldn't be hey, he's the best guy for the job, or she's the best guy for the job, or they're the best guy for the job. I just use guy. I don't know what else to use. They're the best person for the job. There we go. We need to stop using big words. We need to stop using terms that make people feel dumb around us, unless that's intentional. Like when someone's being demeaning or angry or mean, and they're maybe picking on somebody else, I'll go to defend them and say things that are above these people's heads. And I'm not doing it. I'm not looking for it. It's more of a reaction when something stupid happens to that person. So it's not like a normal thing. We need to stop. We need to stop yelling and demeaning and being rude and obnoxious to each other. You can't watch the news. You can't look at social media. You can't do any of that because 80% of it, okay, not 80%, a lot of it, I don't want to put a number to it, a lot of it is just one-sided, someone's angry at somebody else. Instead of, hey, today I had a good day. Today I enjoyed church. Today I enjoyed my grandkids. Today I washed quesadilla sauce on my grandson's shoes. Something. But instead we get anger, frustration, bad words. Again, Trump isn't Hitler. He's not the best. He's not the brightest. He's not Hitler. And to put anyone in the same league as Hitler in the last 100 years is hard. You got Mao in China. You got Pol Pot in Cambodia. Yeah, a little bit of Putin right now. But few people are in the stratosphere of Hitler and how Hitler did things. Pol Pot killed more, but it was a different world for him. He just did it to himself because he enjoyed it, I think. He was kind of like Nero watching Rome burn. So today, focus on being positive when you speak to somebody. Focus on something that makes your day happy. When I went to church yesterday, I decided I'm going to focus on this. I'm going to focus on being positive towards people. And I was as close to positive as I've been in a long time. It wasn't easy, but I did it. And I did it, and I felt okay at the end of it. It wasn't like I was going, under my breath, I hate all of you, but I have to be positive. No, it was positive in the long run. I'm happy with that, so that's a good thing. So tomorrow, another day. Wednesday's going to be a crazy day. I've got a long day ahead of me, but tomorrow's day 16. I'll say the whole subscribe type thing. I'll put a little, I don't know, maybe. I'll do something with that. I'm still working on the shiny brightness of this because I don't have a clue what I'm doing. And I could watch videos or take tutorials, but yeah, don't do that either. So maybe I'll do that later. All right. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for living in my anxiety with me. Thank you for messaging me when something connects you the right way. Thank you for messaging me when I'm a total idiot. Thank you for understanding that some days are good, some days are not. But every day is a new day and a new chance to be better. And that's what I'm going for. Till tomorrow, have a great day.